Chuck, you're on base. You're at bat. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't play sports.
That's Casey. No, okay, so the pooch seems to have settled down now, so that's good. So, um, all right. So just to preface this, um, in regard to comfort food, uh, especially since this seems to be kind of a reaction to the most disturbing shows that we did. Um, what you need to know about me, what a lot of people maybe come to regret knowing about me, is that I know comfort food for a lot of folks comes from a place of just needing something that they'll feel good about. And my wife can vouch for that with me. And it's just kind of like because she's the ultimate person who will say, I need, I'm going to go to bed soon. I need to wind down. I just need something light. I need to watch something light. Thing about me is I go dark almost all the time.
I'm about half and half.
So my second pick, and I did not mean to do a Subway medley here. It just kind of happened that way. But it is 1967's The Incident.
Wow.
Now, if you've ever seen this, um, it's got a potpourri of great actors in it. Tony Masante, Martin Sheen in his first role, a young Donna Mills, um, uh, boy, let me think. A lot of classic character actors, Jack Gilford, Thelma Ritter, in one of her last movies. Uh, Mike Kellen, a great character actor. A lot of Ed McMahon of all people. Ed McMahon, Beau Bridges, and this is a film to kind of set up the plot for you. This movie is maybe split directly in half. Half of it is all set up. Half of it is dropping you into the world with these characters and what's about to happen in the second half of the movie. And it sets you up meticulously with Tony Masante and Martin Sheen hanging out in this pool hall, and just they're both nasty people, nasty guys who just overgrown juvenile delinquents who are pretty much bullies, and they're harassing this pool guy who just wants shut down the billiard hall and go home. And they're making him stay open. And finally they leave and they go out and they mug a guy. Just, I got to get me a pigeon. And then they go pirouetting down the street saying, I got to fly. I got to get something good. We'll go down to Times Square. We're going to do something good tonight. And that's the last you see of them for about a half hour. And then it sets you up with all these people getting on hi, Brody, all these people getting up on all these subway trains. And let me see, and it follows all their lives, introduces you to them and their hangups and their problems and everything bad going on in their lives. And you get you get Ed McMahon and his wife, and they've got their daughter, and they're just coming home from a dinner with her mother. And this guy, Ed McMahon, in this role is almost like Fred Flintstone. He's like this angsty guy who's just trying to get in a fight with his wife, who's maybe too classy to deal with him. And he's just very stressed out about his job and whether he'll get to keep his job and how much money his wife spends and all this stuff. And then you get, Real life. Yes, real life. Beau Bridges and I don't remember the name of the other actor, but they're army buddies. They were just at this one, the
Correct me if
non-Bo
I'm
Bridge.
wrong, but wouldn't Bo Bridges and Tony Musante both be extremely young in 1967?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, they're both quite young.
Okay.
This was originally based on a teleplay called Riding with Terror, or
Okay.
Riding in Terror or something. And the only cast member to return from that was Tony Musante. But anyway, these, kind of nice guy, when Bo Bridges is just this kind of very nice guy, kind of Oklahoma hick who's kind of never been to this part of the country before, doesn't know what he's in, is like in awe of all of it and kind of bewildered by all of it. And they're trying to get him to his ride home to Oklahoma, and he's got a busted arm. He's in a cast. Um, you get Ruby Dee and Brock Peters
Oh wow, I love this.
as this couple. They've just come back from this, obviously at the height of the civil rights era, and they're both coming back from this meeting, and it becomes real obvious that the positions they're taking very opposite end. She's very much of the MLK school of civil rights, where she's just just very kind of Martin Luther King, turned the other cheek, kind of like just kind of pacifist activist. And Brock Peters is very angry. He's very angry, in your face. He's very much more like the Malcolm X kind of school of, just, yeah, turn the
So am
other
I.
cheek.
And I'm
Turn the
all-
other cheek. Oh, and I'm inclined to agree with you. But turn the other cheek. Yeah, screw that. Fight back. And he's very, very angry, but gets in an altercation with the ticket taker in the subways. And so it's friction, friction, friction. You get let me just Jack Gilford plays this angry man, his angry old grandfather who's just trying to get his son to help pay for his dental operation, and he's very angry because his son won't give him the money, and his son is selfish, and Thelma Ritter's trying to kind of calm him down. You get this, I think, this struggling alcoholic who's trying to get his life back on track, and he gets on the subway. You get this very lonely, kind of alienated guy who you kind of pick up on that he's gay, and he kind of is very lonely, and he tries to hit on the alcoholic to no avail, and ends up on the same subway train with him, and in a very embarrassing, kind of awkward situation. Just all these folks, you get this kind of young punk ass kid who's running up he's with Donna Mills, and he's trying to kind of seal the deal with her, and she's reluctant, for obvious reasons. This guy's a mook, and she gets on the train with him regardless, and they end up there. Mike Kellen and Jan Sterling are this frustrated married couple that really don't even like each other. She's a real social climber. He's just this kind of miserable milquetoast school teacher, and just borderline hatred of one another, really. And all these folks pile onto the train, and they give you this long half-hour setup where they introduce you to all these characters. And throughout all this, it's kind of like, okay, Tony Musante and Martin Sheen have vanished. You don't know what happened to them. Last time you saw them, they're going off down the street. So the second movie starts when Tony Musante and Martin Sheen get onto this train, and all hell breaks loose because they decide that their idea of a good night is going to be to hold all these people captive and systematically terrorize all of them.
Oh my god.
That sounds like
And
Night Train murders. You ever seen that Giallo?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's very
And
sadistic.
yeah, yeah, and these are two really sadistic characters, two mean characters. Martin Sheen's his first thing he ever did. He's just kind of a wise guy. Masante is like a shark, and Heather and I will go back and forth. We both sit around and we do Tony Masante imitations. It's just kind of like, oh, she's such a nice girl. What's she doing with you?
Oh my God.
And they go to each and every character on this train, and they are able to understand what they're all about within seconds and pick apart everything about them, zero in on their weaknesses, just exploit it, humiliate them, degrade them, threaten them, and everybody on this train car are absolutely terrified, and they're just backed into a corner. It's like maybe 10, 15 people in this boxcar versus these two. And not only these people are being othered by this duo, but at the same point, they're all othering each other. None of them like or trust each other particularly. None of them really know each other. The only person who really stands up to these guys is Beau Bridges, because he's kind of a cipher to them. He just wandered in off the turnip. He fell off the turnip truck, and now he's here. And he's never seen anything like this before. He's never dealt with people like this before, and they've never dealt with anyone like him before. And he gets under Tony Masante's skin, and there's obviously something building toward that. But anyway, so they go through his whole just being just this nightmare duo attacking these people, one by one or two by two, and just kind of dismantling them. And finally, when they go after this couple with the little girl, is when Beau Bridges finally snaps and says, you put that girl down or I'll put you down. Now, the funny thing about these two, Masante in particular, who's the most menacing of the two, is they never actually do great physical harm to anyone up to this point.
Psychological.
Yeah, it's all psychological. I mean, at one point, he pulls off this guy's watch, and he's just like, no, don't, that was a present to me. He's like, oh, it's a present for me? You're giving me a present? Thank you. He gives it back to him in the end. But throughout this whole thing, I mean, they have never actually gone as far as physically harming anyone until Beau Bridges stands up, and then the switchblade comes out. And these two go at it in this big, brutal fight. And I remember watching this with my old roommate, and he was just horrified and disgusted by it. And he just said, if these people got together and just sided with each other, they'd be able to take these guys out in 10 minutes.
Mhm.
And it's like, yeah, but they're not. Just all these people are so atomized and so alien from one another that, I mean, they ain't joined together to take over shit. And in a nutshell, I mean, Beau Bridges finally beats these guys down, single-handedly and at great cost to himself. And as they come in, it's just finally the train stops, the door opens, they scream for the police, the cops come rushing in. Second they come rushing in, what do? They go right for the black guy.
Oh
You know,
God.
and they put Brock Peters up against the wall, and no, not him, it's him.
Oh,
God, of
God.
And
course.
so finally, and you know, as if the poor bastard doesn't have enough of a chip on his shoulder, but they grab Masante and Sheen and haul them off the train. They pull Bo Bridges out, and he's a mess, and he's, you know, there's not a lot left of him, and he's hopefully going to be okay. But then everybody else slowly gets up and starts walking out of the train one by one. And it's kind of like one of those things, if you think you're going to see a movie where everyone realizes they learn an important lesson, they're maybe they're drawn closer together, maybe this is a big impact on their lives and it's going to have a positive outcome. No, these people are even worse off than they were
Oh,
when they
God.
walked onto the train. And probably the vast majority of the couples who came on that train are done. And these people are just devastated and destroyed, and their lives are much worse for wear. And they're all filing out of the train one after the other. And the very last guy on the train is this poor wino who's been sleeping the entire time. And finally, he rolls over and, you know, falls on the floor. They just keep on filing out. You know, the poor wino doesn't even know what's gone on, but his
He's
life
probably
isn't
the
any
best
better.
off out of
Yeah.
everybody, honestly, if he was just asleep for this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, possibly. Anyway,
God.
so a very tense, brutal movie with a very bleak ending.
What brings you back to it? What makes it comfortable for you?
Well, I think I just really get riveted by the story, riveted by the characters, riveted by the interplay with the characters.
Mhm.
Just a room full of great actors in this whole thing. I mean, even the people you don't, everybody's got a resume behind them. When you look at it, it's like you got people who've won Oscars, you got people who've done this, you got people who've done that. Even the wino who's passed out the entire thing, he's actually got a resume behind him. It's not huge, but he's got one. And I guess it just plays into just my cynicism and I don't know, the way I kind of view humanity.
Fair
But
enough. Yeah.
that was one that I discovered when I was in a band, and my guitarist and I rented it, and his name was Mike, and he talked about, you know, just he referred to, there were certain kinds of movies he referred to as Mike movies. This was a quintessential Mike movie. In fact, the first dub I ever owned of that was one he sent me. I think it was on a long tape which had a bunch of things on it. It had Mike Tyson biting Holyfield's ear off, or yeah,
One of those EP
and,
speed tapes.
yeah, EP speed tape, 6 hours of fun and joy.
Yeah.
But of
I was
course,
going to say,
yeah.
I saw this film when I was a kid.
Oh,
It took
wow.
me a while to realize that was the film you were talking about.
Yeah.
And it was deeply upsetting to me as a
Mhm.
child, because
It's deeply upsetting.
It's that psychological violence. And
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
something that really upset me as a kid, was to watch somebody as you needle somebody or try to tear them apart psychologically. I didn't have the language to understand that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny because I was about a third into your interview, into your review, and I go, "Oh, I saw that a long time ago
Yeah.
on television," and it is a great film. I hadn't thought about that in years,
I've
but
never
so
Yeah.
thanks
seen
for
it.
reviewing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it's heavy.
Good
Yeah,
job.
Tony
man.
Masante it went on to do Toma, right? Is that
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah? So that was the
So
first time I
before
ever
that,
saw
he did Bird with the Crystal Plumage.
Yeah.
and
That's- oh, that's right.
I couldn't watch Toma because he upset me so much as that character. Seriously,
Yeah,
I
he is.
I wouldn't take him as a hero. I said, "Fuck that guy, man." I remember him. You know.
Yeah, he's a very upsetting character.
Thanks for reviewing that.
He's intense.
Oh yeah.
Henry,
Yes.
let's hear yours. And then I got to go, unfortunately.
How about you, Justin? Do you have time to do your second one before I do go?
Yeah, I can briefly do one if you like.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
One I always go back to, another
Uh-oh.
film,
Alien.
they were showing classics, I watch it. No, Bonnie and Clyde. Because I'm quite interested in that era, 1930s bootleg prohibition era. So anything that's a gangster film or it just generally set in the 1930s during the Depression, I'm quite interested in. I also like that film Public Enemy with Johnny Depp in it and the book Public Enemy because it's all true crime stuff from the 30s.
Mhm.
But the Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty film 1968, Bonnie and Clyde, I think it's a classic. A slightly glorified take on the actual characters, Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow, but it's certainly very watchable. It's got an amazing Lester, is it Lester Flats and Earl Scruggs sort of banjo type soundtrack all the way through it, and the old vintage cars, a few car chases. So it's largely accurate to the history of the Barrow Gang. I think it won an Oscar for one of the supporting actress, Estelle Parsons, who played uh, Buck Barrow. So she was a very hysterical sort of character in the film. And I heard a funny anecdote that the real Blanche Barrow was still alive and she was a consultant to the film
Oh,
in
yeah.
1968. And she didn't like the fact that she didn't like the way she was played as such an hysterical character by the person who actually won the Oscar for the role. Um, yeah, it's a great film. It's not overly violent. It's violent enough to be true to the killings that took place, which appeared to be largely accidental at the start, but not so much when they were accosted later on in the film. But it also has that Robin Hood type theme where they're viewed very much as being against the banks, and the banks are viewed by most of the common public as evil entities at the time, foreclosing on mortgages and so forth. It becomes apparent towards the end of the film they're regarded as in an age before social media as effectively celebrities who are on the side of the downtrodden, if you like, sort of Robin Hood type. Most people have seen this film as a very shocking end as well, which I remember
Yeah.
seeing as a kid when I was about 10 years old. First time I saw this film, and the ambush scene at the end when they're both executed by the posse, the police posse, is had a bit of an effect on me at the time as quite a shocking scene in terms of
And they are executed for sure.
they went the extra mile, shall we say, in terms
Yeah.
of the number of bullets that were expended. I went to this Crime and Punishment Museum when I was in Washington D.C. where
You're freezing.
replica. I'm sure it was a replica, not the real car, but it was I think, but it was a replica car of the car that they were actually executed in
Oh, God.
back in
Hmm.
early 30s, 1935. So yeah, I'm sure everyone's seen it, but it's one of the go-to films that I go to. If it's on, I'll probably rewatch it.
I've got a super deluxe Blu-ray
Nice.
edition.
Was that Peckinpah?
No, it was
Okay.
Arthur. Was it Arthur Hiller or was it
Yeah, maybe.
that other guy from that era? You'd know his name immediately. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I
But
don't know why that bloodbath ending just kind of brought Peckinpah to mind for me.
Billy, you want me to go and then you'll go?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thanks, Justin.
No worries.
So I'm going to completely change gears. I won't have time to do the most outre one of my choices, which is really funny why it's a comfort movie for me. But one that I really come back to a lot to watch, I really like 1910s and 1920s silent serials that last 3 to 6 hours long, and I just put them on. Sometimes I
Same.
have to
Yeah.
pick around a little for if it's something on YouTube. I have to find the one with the soundtrack that I like. But if it's a DVD or something I know what to expect. I've got Dr. Mabuza. I've got Dini Balungan. I'm a big Lang guy. But this precedes all of that by a good bit, and it's really amazing how old it is. Is Judex by Louis Fouillade, and it's about 5.5 hours in total. And I've been known to watch it straight through. I mean, I'm not saying I pay attention to every single frame, but that's just it. I mean, I like you guys have said, you can, and this is hard to do in a silent movie with intertitles, but you've seen it enough. You can come in anytime and you know what's going on. And unlike Franju's remake, which I want to make clear, I do love a lot of Franju fans, of which I guess I'm one, don't like it when I say I like the original better. I don't like the original better in the sense that I think Fouillade was like this, you know, visionary visual stylist like Franju. However, having read the original serialized stories of Judex and enjoyed the characters and loved these characters, I got into this around 2005. I've written pastiche stories about Judex. I've drawn pictures of Judex. It's kind of like Alucarda. One of you guys mentioned her, and there's a character that I started worshiping in the 2000s, doing all my own little pastiche work. And Keith's seen some of it, but with Judex, he's the first superhero. I mean, he's the second after the Nyctalope. The Nyctalope was in prose, but he precedes him by like 2 years. But Judex influenced directly the Shadow and Batman, just as Zorro, who came later, did. But Judex, he doesn't wear a mask, but he does have kind of a low brim hat, has a long cloak, and he has an underground lair under Le Chateau Rouge. He's rich. His name's Jacques de Tremuse, and he is a minor noble, but his father has been swindled out of his fortune by this corrupted banker. Here we go again, Favreau, and so him and his accomplice slash brother Roger, they decide, you know, we're just gonna capture Favreau and torture him. So they have a little underground thing, and they don't like torture him like, you know, 1,000 cuts or anything like you see in Saw, but you know, they isolate him and they don't let him out. You know, it's like he's in a room, you know, not a small room, but that's it. And they watch him on a television, which didn't exist in 1913, and they monitor all the stuff that way, and they have various gizmos, and there's a lot of little sidetracks and subplots, and Judex eventually falls in love with what's her, Jacqueline. Jacqueline Aubrey is the daughter of Favreau, and she's a widow, and she's got a son, and you know the son makes friends with this strange urchin named the Licorice Kid. This was a subplot that when I first watched it, I was like, they could have cut this. But then when I watched it the second time, it's so long that they develop every plot to the end. I mean, they don't forget anything. You might have to think, oh, 2 hours ago there was the Licorice Kid. Oh yeah, okay. And but to me, it's great storytelling, and it's very clear to modern audiences, in my opinion. The music that Jacob Israel did for the remaster is beautiful. Flicker Alley put it out on DVD. You know, that company and the F.W. Murnau Foundation, they've done Les Vampires, they've done Fantomas, and yeah, they've done those two on Blu-ray. I've got Fantomas. I had the Vampires on DVD, but they don't have plans that I know of to do Judex yet on Blu-ray, and I feel like cheated and hurt and upset and deeply moved. And but it's really one of my favorite heroic stories. I think Renee Crest, who's a really great actor, who does a good job in Fouillade's later one that flopped called Team Men, which is a very complex one, of course. If any of y'all ever want to see it, there's a good print on YouTube. It's about 4 hours. Team Men's the heroine's character, which implication that she's part Asian, but the actress is obviously not remotely Asian. But the guy who plays Judex is her suitor, and so there's this wonderful romance. He's really good at romance, or in the case of Les Vampires, like sexual tension with Irma Vep and stuff. This influenced the surrealists, influenced everybody, but it's not a household name, but so it has a cult cachet. But I could watch it endlessly. It's just really nice to put on, and every time I watch it, I mean, Judex has the dog pack that he commands when he needs help. A dog pack.
Hmm.
He's riding a horse with his brother, and there's a dog pack. It's kind of like that movie
Nice.
White Dog, which I don't know if y'all have seen. That's a foreign movie, more recent, where a dog starts an uprising, and great movie. But if it had had a bigger budget, the way it would have been unbelievable. But anyway, so that's my second pick.
That's a great choice.
Good
Thanks
choice,
for doing
man.
that one. 'Cause
Thank
I've
you.
seen Les Vampires, but I've never seen that one. I saw part of Fantomas. And so thank you for bringing this up. You're the only the second person I've ever known personally or otherwise that ever knew about Louis Feuillade.
When I got the a little extra money last year, which of course ended up screwing me up, and you know, it's already on the downturn toward where I am now. But I did foolishly blurge on this half off Kino Lorber sale. And that's when I got the complete Phantom Oz and the complete Dr. Mabuse, and it was just really a pleasure to watch both of them all the way through, you know, more than
Yeah,
once.
those are truly films that aren't for everyone, but I think they're really rewarding if you get into the right frame of mind. I know a lot of people that won't watch silent films at all.
Mhm.
Certainly you're talking about a 5-hour
They
serial.
relax me, to be honest.
Same here.
I
I
don't know
find
why.
I find a lot of silent film to be comfort food, and I recorded the Les Vampires off of I guess
TCM?
Turner Classics back in the '90s, so I had
Yeah.
all these like cassettes of it, and I would put it on just as background, kind of like you're talking about. You come and go with it.
A lot of
So,
atmosphere. It's really,
yeah,
and the
and
restoration of, I can't remember Les Vampire. I had the DVD, I think so. But Judex, the DVD is color coded as originally intended, which makes it a lot easier for me on the eyes. So there's a portions that are blue, portions that are orange, you know, and I just think it's cool.
yeah, he cast a long shadow over not just fine art, but popular culture, you know, and fine, like the surrealists were all into
Yeah,
him.
Andre Breton was a huge Fouillade fan.
Yeah, Lovis Corinth, who's like a French Gothic surrealist artist, was all about him.
The Dadaist, like his stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a
Yeah,
good
he did.
choice.
He's kind of like the 1910s David Lynch.
Hmm.
Crazy.
I'm here for
Guys,
that.
Okay.
Thanks very much. I enjoyed this. You continue without me just because I'm the host. I'm retiring early. Just put the food in the fridge.
Yeah, I
when you're
think I'm
done,
gonna
and,
peace out also.
All
Got
right.
to hang out a little bit longer tonight, but I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you
you so much.
guys.
Yes.
You
Same
take
here,
care.
actually.
Take care,
because
everybody.
I've got guests, so I actually
Yeah.
also
Bye.
have to go.
All right.
Take care,
Thank you.
everyone.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye, everyone.